When you see a pill in a bottle, have you ever stopped to think about how it actually got there? It's not magic. It's one of the most complex, expensive, and high-stakes journeys on the entire planet. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that entire life cycle, and we'll use the year 2025 as our lens to see where the future of medicine is headed.
So, here's the plan. We're going to start at the finish line with the amazing drugs approved in 2025. Then we'll rewind the clock to see the 12-year marathon they had to run. We'll try to navigate the crazy regulatory maze, find out what happens after a drug gets the green light, and finally, we'll peek over the horizon at the next medical frontier. Ready? Let's jump in.
All right, let's kick things off with the really exciting part, the graduating class of medicines. These are the ones that made it all the way through the gauntlet in 2025. And let me tell you, it was a pretty incredible year for medical science.
Get this. In 2025, the European Medicines Agency, or EMA, gave the thumbs up to a whopping 104 new medicines. Now think about that. Every single one of those numbers represents a potential new treatment, a brand new source of hope for patients all across Europe.
In digging into that number, we find something even more interesting. A record-breaking 41 of them were what's called biosimilars. This is a huge deal. Biosimilars are basically super close copies of complex, expensive biologic drugs. When they hit the market, they create competition, which drives down costs and makes some of the most advanced treatments out there way more accessible for everybody.
But these aren't just statistics, right? They represent real, life-changing progress. We're talking about drugs like Whiskera, the first ever treatment for a super rare inherited immune disease. Or Yetuo, an HIV prevention shot you only need twice a year. That's an absolute game changer. And even therapies like Anktiva, which got approved under special circumstances to give patients with really tough-to-treat cancers a new fighting chance.
So that's the victory lap. But getting there? Oh, it is anything but easy. For every single one of those success stories, there's an incredibly long and punishing journey. So let's rewind the clock and see the marathon these medicines actually had to survive.
On average, it takes 12 years. 12! From a scientist's aha moment in the lab to an approved medicine. And for the really complex stuff like gene therapies, that can stretch to an unbelievable 30 years. It is a massive gamble of time, money, and sheer scientific brainpower, where failure is just part of the process. Now, the drugs running this marathon usually come in two main flavors. You've got your small molecules. These are made with chemistry. They're predictable. Think of a tiny key designed to fit one very specific lock in your body. And then you have biologics. These come from living cells. They're way more complex, and they act less like a key and more like a tiny living tool designed to do a very specific job.
And the odds of success, they are just staggering. I want you to really let this sink in. For every 5,000 promising compounds that even start this journey, only one, just one, will ever cross the finish line and get approved for patients. The rest fails somewhere along the way, which really makes every single one of those approvals from 2025 a monumental scientific achievement.
Okay, so surviving the brutal science is one thing, but then every potential medicine has to face the regulators. You can think of them as the ultimate gatekeepers, the guardians who make sure that only safe and effective drugs actually reach the public.
Now, for medicines that show incredible promise, especially for diseases with no other options, regulators have created special pathways, sort of like a fast pass. The PRIME scheme is a great example. It gives extra support to speed things up. In 2025, 6 of these high-priority medicines made it all the way through, getting critical treatments to the people who need them faster. Another one of these vital pathways is for so-called orphan drugs. This is designed to encourage companies to develop treatments for rare diseases. Conditions that affect so few people it might not make business sense to pursue them otherwise. Thanks to these incentives, 16 new orphan medicines got the green light last year alone.
And the approval process itself? It's not just one person saying yes. It's incredibly rigorous. A potential drug has to go through multiple committees of independent experts. They pore over every single piece of data on quality, on safety, on whether it even works, before making any recommendation. It's a system of checks and balances designed to be tough for a reason.
So here's the key takeaway. Yes, the regulatory process is a complicated maze, but it's a maze with a purpose. And it has these special pathways built right in, designed specifically to help medicines for the most vulnerable patients and the rarest diseases find their way through, making sure that no one gets left behind.
You might think that getting approved is the end of the story, right? Well, not even close. In a lot of ways, it's really just the beginning.
Now the medicine enters the real world, and this is where it's monitored and tested for the rest of its life.
The tragic story of thalidomide back in the 50s and 60s taught the world of medicine a brutal but absolutely necessary lesson. That disaster led directly to the modern systems we have today for pharmacovigilance, which is just a fancy word for constantly monitoring a drug's safety after it's on the market.
And this system is always working. I mean, just in 2025, it led to really important safety updates for common drugs, like new advice on how to use the antibiotic azithromycin to help fight drug resistance. This is the system working in real time to keep us all safe.
At the same time, a whole other life cycle kicks in, the economic one. The original, brand-name drug, the one that had to do all the heavy lifting and prove its safety from scratch, is eventually joined by generics and biosimilars. They get to use a shortcut, relying on the original's data, which sparks competition and brings prices down.
And the money involved here is just enormous. This whole competition is governed by patents, and right now we're heading for a massive patent cliff. Between 2025 and 2033, some of the biggest blockbuster drugs are going to lose their exclusive protection. We are talking about over $400 billion in revenue that's suddenly up for grabs.
So you see, whether it's the constant safety watch or the inevitable patent wars, life after approval is an incredibly active and crucial phase. It's all about making sure that for every single patient, a medicine's benefits continue to outweigh its risks.
Okay, for our final chapter, let's look to the future. Because there are some powerful new technologies emerging right now that are set to completely reshape this entire process as we know it.
Artificial intelligence. It's not some sci-fi buzzword anymore. It is rapidly becoming a true co-pilot for scientists. AI can now help design brand new drugs from the ground up, and it can accelerate the pace of discovery in a way that just wasn't possible before, turning years of research into months.
And what this is leading to is the ultimate goal of healthcare, truly personalized medicine. We're starting to see the first treatments, like revolutionary gene therapies, that can be designed and tailored for one single person based on their unique DNA. It's a complete paradigm shift.
Which leaves us with this final critical question. As these incredible technologies like AI speed everything up, are they going to bring in a golden era of personalized health for all of us? Or will they just create a new, even more complex battlefield for patents and profits? The answer to that is going to define the future of medicine for everyone.